What's up everybody, blessed be, my name is Manon and you are watching Witch in the Working, where we will be discussing all things witchy in and around, throughout and about, above, below, and beyond. This video offers my personal views on the topic at hand. Please visit me on my other platforms as well, including Facebook, Instagram, and Patreon, all linked down in the description below. The full script of this video and most of the others is available on my Patreon account for download if desired to build your very own Witch in the Working Book of Shadows. Do you need help with a spell or fancy a tarot reading? Shoot on over to my store, Bewitching and Bizarre, with choices listed down in the description below for your personalized working and or reading. So I decided to make this video because there is a very daunting symbol out there, should we say, method, that is called the Tree of Life. And it's something that a lot of pagans see all the time, and they hear about it quite a bit probably. And the reality is it's kind of a difficult subject, and most pagans never really touch on it, and I'm here to basically just explain to you that you can touch on it. That sounds creepy. Anyway, but yeah, you can totally do the Tree of Life. You do not have to be a ceremonial magician to work with this system. And I wanted to make this video to show you just how easy it is and how it does work for pagans, to, witches and Wiccans and whatnot. Just as much as it works for ceremonial magicians. So let's get into it. You've probably seen the Tree of Life before, a diagram with circles and lines often wrapped in mystery and presented like it belongs only to ceremonial magicians or scholars. But here's the truth. The Tree of Life is already part of our world as pagans and Wiccans. At its core, it's about connection. Roots sinking into the earth, branches stretching into the heavens, and the trunk standing strong in between. This imagery isn't foreign to us at all. It's the same wisdom carried in the Yggdrasil, the Celtic Cran Bathad, and even our own rituals when we honor the elements, celebrate the Sabbats, and recognize the balance of the divine. In this video, we're going to look at the Tree of Life through a pagan lens, translating the spheres into elemental forces, cycles of life, and divine archetypes we already understand. The paths become the lessons we walk, bridging experiences and guiding spiritual growth. By shifting the language, the tree transforms from a distant diagram into a living tool that we can use for meditation, ritual, spell work, and self-discovery. Whether you're just starting on your path or you've been practicing for years, the Tree of Life has something for you. It's not about memorizing names or chasing complexity. It's about discovering a map of the universe that mirrors the journey of your own soul. So let's get into it. Roll intro. Welcome back everyone. When most people hear the phrase Tree of Life, their minds jump straight to the mystical diagrams of the Kabbalah. 10 glowing spheres, 22 connecting lines, and a reputation for being complex, scholarly, and maybe a little intimidating. And honestly, that reputation isn't wrong. The Kabbalistic Tree of Life is deep, layered, and wrapped up in centuries of esoteric tradition. But here's the thing. As pagans and Wiccans, we already have a natural connection to the idea of a sacred tree. We don't need to feel like outsiders peeking in on someone else's system. The concept of the world tree is right at home in pagan spirituality, and by tracing the roots, we can see just how much it belongs to us too. Let's start with the basics. A tree in just about every culture represents connection. Its roots dig deep into the soil, drawing nourishment from the earth. Its branches stretch upward, touching the sky, and its trunk stands right in the middle like the bridge that ties the two worlds together. That simple imagery has spoken to humanity since the dawn of time. Trees live longer than we do. They grow season after season, and they hold space for life to flourish around them. It's no wonder they've become powerful symbols of both spiritual and physical balance. Think about it. Yggdrasil, the world tree in Norse mythology. It's said to connect all the 9 realms, from the land of gods to the underworld of the dead. Or consider the Celtic Cran Bathad, the Tree of Life, where roots and branches mirror each other, showing that what exists above is reflected below. Even in Wicca, we hold that hermetic idea, as above, so below. The tree makes that teaching visible. When you picture a tree, you're literally looking at a living diagram of how spirit and matter interact. Now, the Kabbalistic Tree of Life adds structure to that universal image. It maps out divine energy as it flows from the highest spiritual source down into the physical world. But here's the insight that I want you to carry forward. The Jewish mystics weren't inventing the idea of a sacred tree. They were building on a symbol that already resonated deeply across cultures, and just as they adapted it for their faith, we as pagans and Wiccans can adapt it for ours. Why does this matter? Because sometimes in modern witchcraft we see systems like the Kabbalah and think that belongs to ceremonial magicians, not me. But if you peel back the scholarly layers, what you find is a symbol that has always been universal. A tree doesn't care whether you call yourself Wiccan, Druid, Heathen, or Mystic. It grows just the same, offering wisdom to anyone willing to sit beneath its branches. Here's another way to look at it. The Tree of Life is a map, but not the kind you fold up and shove into your glove box. It's a spiritual map, a way of navigating experiences, understanding how energy flows, and seeing how everything is connected. And as pagans, we love that idea. Connection is at the heart of our path. Connection to the earth, to the cycles of nature, to the goddess and God, and to each other. The Tree of Life just gives us a new lens to explore those same truths. If you're brand new to the craft, don't worry. You don't need to memorize Hebrew names or dive into advanced philosophy to grasp this information. All you need to know is that the sacred tree has always been a companion to human spirituality. It shows up in myths, legends, and magical traditions from every corner of the world. When you light candles on your altar or celebrate the turning of the wheel of the year, you're already living out the lessons of the tree. Roots in the past, branches reaching into the future, and your present self standing strong in the middle. For all of us witches and pagans, this is where the fun begins. Recognizing the pagan echoes within the Tree of Life opens up new ways to deepen your practice. You might find yourself weaving it into meditation or using it as a guide for ritual structure. You might even start spotting parallels you hadn't noticed before, like how the spheres of the tree align with the stages of the witch's journey, or how the paths reflect the balance of the elements. So the point of this chapter isn't to replace the Kabbalistic system or water it down. It's to remind us that as pagans, we're already standing beneath the branches of a world tree. The Kabbalistic diagram is one expression of that truth, and it's one we can learn from, reshape, and claim as part of our own magical heritage. By recognizing the roots of the Tree of Life in world mythology and pagan cosmology, we take away the feeling of separation and replace it with familiarity. This isn't foreign territory, it's our forest, our sacred grove, and it's been waiting for us all along. Now that we've set down the roots of where the Tree of Life comes from, it's time to shape it into something pagans and Wiccans can actually work with. The original Kabbalistic version uses Hebrew names like Kether and Malkuth, each tied to very specific meanings. Beautiful, yes, but sometimes hard to connect with if you're not coming from that tradition. What if we created a framework that speaks in the language of pagan spirituality, one that feels just as natural as casting a circle or celebrating the Sabbats? That's exactly what this chapter of the video is all about. Giving the Tree of Life a pagan skin so it can become a practical, powerful tool of our craft. Let's think of the tree as a map of spiritual energy. Each sphere, or sephira, represents a stage of being, a force of nature, or a layer of consciousness. Instead of worrying about foreign terminology, let's translate those into pagan terms that align with what we already know. For example, at the very top of the tree sits the source, the ultimate spark of creation. In Kabbalah, this is called Kether. In pagan terms, this can be seen as the Lord and Lady in their unified infinite form, the god and goddess before they split into distinct polarities. It's that primal unity, the spark behind the Big Bang, the eternal mystery we can only experience in glimpses during trance or ritual. I personally call it Baphomet. Moving down, you encounter other spheres that break this unity into more recognizable archetypes. The next level could easily be seen as the divine masculine and divine feminine, emerging from that original source. For us, this mirrors the polarity we honor in Circle. The god is sun, stag, or oak king, and the goddess is moon, earth, or great mother. This pairing reflects the dance of duality, the balance of energies that keeps the universe in motion. As the tree flows downward, it becomes less abstract and more connected to our lived experience. Some of the spheres can be translated into elemental powers. Think of one representing fire, passion, will, and transformation. Another resonates with water, intuition, love, and flow. Earth could embody stability and manifestation, while air might symbolize intellect and communication. Suddenly, the tree isn't some distant diagram. It's a familiar elemental framework we can already use in ritual and magic. And then finally we arrive at the base of the tree, the physical world. This is the realm of earthly existence, where spirit takes on form, where spells manifest into results, and where we live our daily lives. In Kabbalah, this is Malkuth. For us, it's simply the sacred earth, and here and now, the place where these cycles of life, death, and rebirth play out in tangible ways. For beginners, this pagan version of the tree can act like a guidebook for spiritual growth. You don't need to memorize everything at once. Just picture the tree as a ladder of energy, starting with the mysteries of the cosmos at the top, moving through layers of divine archetypes and elemental powers, and finally grounding in the material world. It gives you a framework to understand where you are in your own journey. Maybe you're working through emotional waters right now, or maybe you're focused on grounding your goals into physical reality. Either way, the tree offers a reminder that all of these experiences are connected, all part of one living system. The pagan tree of life becomes a playground of correspondences. You can align the spheres with deities from your pantheon, match them to the planets for astrological work, or even pair them with tarot cards for layered divination. Imagine pulling a card and not only interpreting it through the tarot system, but also through where it falls on the tree. Is it guiding you toward higher wisdom, elemental balance, or practical manifestation? The tree adds another dimension to your readings and rituals, deepening the meaning behind each working. Here's a tree that I built, and I like to use for both magical and spiritual practice both. As many of you know, I am a huge advocate for the elements and balance. And many of you also know that my main belief of creation is from that of a god and goddess. Not a specific name god and goddess, just the divine masculine and the divine feminine. I also believe that this divine masculine and divine feminine coexist as one source of both before breaking down into the two parts. This is where my friend Baphomet comes back into play, because it is both masculine and feminine, but one source of, both energies. With this being said, when I was putting this pagan tree of life together, there were a couple of different ways it could have been built. One option was to put the astral realm right up near the top, just under the divine, so it acted almost like a heavenly dream world flowing straight from the source. The other option was to keep the astral closer to the bottom, right above the physical world, so it works as a bridge between energy and reality. I chose the second design, source, then god and goddess, then the elements between them, sacred balance in the middle, then astral, and finally the physical world, because it mirrors how we actually experience magic. Think about it. When we cast a spell, we're calling down divine energy, channeling it through the elements, shaping it in the astral plane, and then grounding it into the physical. The astral acts like the filter or the blueprint. It's where thought forms and energy patterns are shaped before they take form in our world. This way, the tree isn't just a fancy looking diagram. It's a working model for magic and spiritual practice. It shows us that everything flows from the source, then through divine polarity into the elements, and then into the astral, and finally lands in the physical. That feels both mystical and practical, which is exactly what we're aiming for as pagans and witches. The real beauty of this pagan framework is its flexibility. You don't have to use it exactly the way I describe it here. You can adapt it to your tradition, your deities, and your practice. Some witches might see the spheres as stages of the goddess, maiden, mother, and crone, woven into the cycle of life. Others might use it to chart the turning of the wheel of the year, linking each sphere to a Sabbath. There's no one right way to interpret it. The tree is alive, and like any tree, it bends, grows, and adapts with the seasons of your own path. So we're not just borrowing from Kabbalah, we're reclaiming the tree as a pagan tool. By translating its layers into the language of our craft, we can make it approachable for newcomers and endlessly useful for all witches. It becomes more than a diagram, it becomes a living symbol of our magical reality, rooted in the earth, branching into the heavens, and reminding us that the divine is both above and within us. So far, we've talked about the tree itself, the roots, the trunk, and the spheres that make up its structure. But here's the thing, the tree of life isn't just about the points on the map. It's also about the lines that connect them. These connecting paths are just as important as the spheres themselves because they show movement, relationship, and growth. If the spheres are the what, then the paths are the how. They tell us the story of how energy flows and how we as witches and seekers can move through different states of being. In traditional Kabbalah, there are 22 of these paths, each linked with Hebrew letters and Tarot's major arcana. That system is brilliant in its own right, but we don't have to get bogged down in unfamiliar language to make it useful in pagan practice. Instead, we can see these paths as bridges, lessons, or transitions between different aspects of life and spirit. They're like stepping stones across a river, guiding us from one stage to another, helping us make sense of the journey. Take, for example, a path that runs between the sphere of the divine unity and one that expresses polarity. That's the bridge between the infinite source and the emerging god and goddess dynamic. So in simple pagan terms, this path represents the lesson of balance, understanding how oneness divides into two and how two can still be part of one. It's the mystery we touch when we invoke both Lord and Lady in circle, knowing they're unique but also inseparable. Other paths can be seen as elemental lessons. The line that connects fire's passion with water's intuition might symbolize the challenge of blending action with emotion, learning to act with both heart and will. Or the bridge between earth's stability and air's intellect could represent grounding your ideas into real-world manifestation. Suddenly, these abstract connections become practical teachings. They're not just mystical lines on a diagram. They're reminders of the challenges we face every day as we try to balance the forces within ourselves. The easiest way to use these paths is through, you guessed it, like most things, meditation or visualization. Picture yourself standing on one of the spheres. Let's say you're rooted in earth energy, focused on stability and security. Then imagine walking the path that leads toward air, opening your mind, exploring new ideas, and allowing curiosity to spark. That simple visualization can become a spiritual exercise, teaching you how to stretch beyond where you are and move toward balance. Each path becomes a journey you can take in your inner world, a kind of guided walk across the tree. Practitioners can take this even further with pathworking. This is a form of journeying where you actively explore the lessons of a particular path through trance, meditation, or ritual. For example, if you're working with the path between water and fire, you might create a ritual that uses candle flames and bowls of water, meditating on how the two interact, sometimes clashing, sometimes balancing perfectly. By embodying the path in ritual, you give yourself a direct experience of its energy. Over time, this kind of work can transform how you approach challenges, relationships, and magic itself. The paths also remind us that nothing in the tree stands alone. Every sphere, no matter how complete it seems, only makes sense in the connection to the others. We too are not isolated beings. Our emotions affect our thoughts shape our actions ripple out into the physical world. The paths are like threads weaving the whole tapestry together, showing us that movement and relationship are the real heartbeat of the tree. What's powerful about this, especially for pagans, is that it reflects our worldview perfectly. We already understand life as cyclical, interconnected, and flowing. The wheel of the year isn't about fixed points, it's about the transitions between them, the turning from winter into spring or from autumn into the stillness of Yule. The paths on the tree of life are just another way of seeing those sacred transitions, except instead of seasons, they're inner movements of the soul. So when you think of the tree of life, don't just picture the spheres like ornaments hanging in space. See the lines, the bridges, the winding pathways that connect them. These are the lessons of becoming, the moments when we leave behind what we were and step into something new. For some, they're gentle guides toward balance and growth. For other witches, they're doorways into deeper mysteries, ready to be explored through ritual, tarot, astrology, or meditation. In the end, the paths remind us that the tree isn't static. It's alive, dynamic, and always moving. So are we. Each time we step onto a new path, whether in spirit, in magic, or in life, we're participating in that living current. We're not just looking at the tree of life, we're climbing it, branch by branch, path by path, discovering who we are and who we're becoming along the way. It's one thing to admire the tree of life as a symbol or study it as a diagram, but symbols only become powerful when we breathe life into them. The tree isn't meant to sit on a dusty page or stay confined to a book of shadows. It's meant to be lived, woven into the way we practice magic, connect with spirit, and navigate our everyday lives. So how do we actually put this whole tree thing into practice? For beginners, the simplest way to work with the tree is through, again, meditation. Picture yourself as the trunk of a great tree. Your feet are the roots sinking deep into the earth, drawing nourishment and grounding energy. Your head and arms are the branches reaching upward, soaking in light and cosmic inspiration. Right there, you are embodying the tree of life. This visualization can become a daily practice, centering your energy and reminding you that you're always connected both above and below. It's a way to anchor yourself in stressful times, much like casting a circle but on a personal level. Another easy entry point is intention setting. Each sphere on the tree can represent a different focus. If you're looking to spark creativity, connect with the fiery aspect of the tree. If you need emotional healing, lean into the watery sphere. Want stability? Ground yourself in the earth branch. By pairing our goals with the layers of the tree, you give your workings structure and direction. Suddenly, the tree becomes more than an intimidating diagram. It becomes a checklist of energies you can call on in your daily life. Now, for those of you who like ritual, the tree can be an incredible template for building ceremony. Instead of casting your circle in the usual way, you might create an altar that mirrors the tree itself. Place candles or stones in a vertical arrangement to represent the spheres, starting with the source at the top and the earthly plane at the bottom. As you work your ritual, move your awareness down the altar, channeling the energy energy through each stage until it reaches your final intention. This kind of structured ritual not only deepens your connection with the tree, it also gives your spellwork a clear pathway for energy to flow. For the more advanced practitioner, the tree can become a personal diagnostic tool. Think of it as a spiritual mirror. If your magic feels off or your balance is shaken, look at the tree and ask yourself, which sphere am I neglecting? Maybe you've been living in the realm of thought, air, but not grounding it into action, earth. Or maybe you've poured all your passion into fire without listening to the soothing wisdom of the water. By checking in with the tree, you can identify which energies need more attention and realign your practice accordingly. One of the most practical uses is connecting the tree to the wheel of the year. Imagine mapping each Sabbath to a sphere or path. Samhain could link to the mysteries of transformation and the underworld energies near the base. Beltane might align with the union of masculine and feminine polarities higher up the tree. By pairing the tree with the seasons, you create a spiritual calendar that adds depth to your Sabbath celebrations. You're no longer just marking the changing of the seasons, you're walking the tree as the year turns. Even outside of formal practice, the tree can enrich daily mindfulness. When you're cooking, tending your garden, or walking in the woods, you can frame those moments through the tree. Planting seeds in soil, you're working earth energy at the base. Watching the sunrise, you're experiencing the radiant flow from the higher spheres. This awareness turns ordinary activities into sacred acts, reminding you that magic isn't separate from life, it is life. And don't forget divination. If you're reading tarot, pendulum, or runes, use the tree as a backdrop. A card drawn might resonate not only with its traditional meaning, but also with a specific sphere or path. This adds extra layers to your reading and helps you see how a situation fits into the bigger picture of your spiritual growth. Advanced readers especially will find that weaving the tree into their spreads unlocks insights they might otherwise overlook. The key idea here is accessibility. You don't need to be a scholar or ceremonial magician to work with the tree. It's already alive in your rituals, in your connection to the elements, in the cycles of the seasons, and in the flow of your everyday life. The more you consciously invite it in, through meditation, ritual, spellcraft, or even casual reflection, the more it becomes second nature. The Tree of Life is more than a symbol to be studied. It's a living ally. It teaches us how to balance, how to flow, and how to stay rooted while reaching for the stars. And when you make it part of your daily practice, you discover that the tree isn't just something out there. It's something you carry within you every single day. By now, we've explored the roots, the framework, the connecting paths, and the ways to live the Tree of Life in everyday practice. But the real magic happens when we step back and see the bigger picture. The tree isn't just a spiritual diagram on a ritual tool. It's a living mystery, a pattern that integrates with everything else we do as pagans and Wiccans. Let's check out how the tree branches out into the broader landscape of our craft and how it can become a compass for the journey ahead. First, let's talk about perspective. The Tree of Life is often called a map of the universe, but it's just as much a map of the self. Each sphere can be seen as both a cosmic principle and a part of your own inner world. When you meditate on the higher spheres, you're not just contemplating distant spiritual forces, you're awakening parts of yourself that are usually hidden. When you ground in the lower spheres, you're not just thinking about the physical earth, you're recognizing your own body, your survival, and your everyday presence. The tree is both outward and inward, cosmic and personal. That dual nature is what makes it so powerful for pagans who already value the balance of the inner and outer worlds. This is a call to see the tree as a personal ally. It's not about memorizing names or mastering some ancient system. It's about noticing how its lessons show up in your life. Maybe you're walking through an emotional challenge. That's a path between spheres. Maybe you're feeling the pull to grow spiritually. That's you climbing upward through the branches. By recognizing these moments, you start to see your life as part of the tree's living story. The tree opens up deeper mysteries as well. It weaves together systems we already use: the wheel of the year, the elements, tarot, astrology, deity work, and ritual structure. Think of it as a universal translator. When you map your Sabbats onto the tree, you see how seasonal energies mirror spiritual stages. When you place tarot cards along the paths, you uncover layers of meaning you wouldn't have seen otherwise. When you align deities with spheres, you begin to understand how their archetypes interact, creating harmony within your practice. The tree doesn't replace these tools, it integrates them, giving you a way to see the connections between them all. One of the greatest insights the tree offers is the reminder that growth is never finished. Trees don't stop stretching once they've reached a certain height. They keep branching, keep forming new rings in their trunk, keep reaching for light while sinking deeper into the soil. Spiritually, we do the same. No matter how much we study, practice, or achieve, there's always another path to walk, another lesson to explore. The tree teaches us that transformation isn't a destination, it's a journey, one that continues as long as we're alive. And here's where integration really hits home. The Tree of Life doesn't belong solely to ceremonial magicians, nor does it only live in Hebrew mysticism. It belongs to anyone who feels its call. As pagans and Wiccans and witches, we honor cycles, elements, and divine polarities. The tree reflects all of that. By bringing it into our practice, we're not stepping outside our path, we're expanding it. We're claiming a symbol that has always been universal and making it uniquely our own. Imagine standing before your altar and realizing that every candle, every crystal, every word of your ritual fits into the tree somewhere. Imagine looking at your life and seeing the struggles, triumphs, and quiet moments as paths and spheres on your personal tree. This is the integration the tree offers, the sense that nothing is separate, that all of it, magic, spirit, and daily life, is a part of one great pattern. So as we close this journey through the pagan tree of life, remember this: the tree isn't finished. It doesn't end when you've memorized its parts or walk its paths in meditation. It keeps growing with you, weaving into your practice, reshaping itself to meet you where you are. The mysteries it holds aren't locked away. They unfold slowly, branch by branch, as you live them. In the end, the tree of life is more than a diagram. It's a mirror, a teacher, and a companion. It shows us how to integrate our craft into every part of life, reminding us that the divine isn't somewhere far away. It's in the roots beneath us, the branches above us, and the living trunk that we embody every day. When we step back and look at the tree of life, we see more than circles and lines on a diagram. We see a living pattern that mirrors our own journey. Its roots remind us to stay grounded, its branches encourage us to reach for wisdom, and the paths in between show us that growth is never a straight line, but a series of lessons, challenges, and discoveries. By reimagining the tree in a pagan framework, we can see it not as something distant or overly complicated, but as a tool that reflects the cycles, elements, and divine connections we already work with in our craft. It becomes less of an abstract study and more of a companion that walks with us through ritual, meditation, and daily life. The beauty of the tree is that it doesn't belong to one tradition or culture. It speaks a universal language of connection, transformation, and balance. For us as pagans and Wiccans and witches, it offers a way to deepen what we already know and to find new meaning in practices we've cherished for years. The tree of life isn't here to replace our traditions, but to enrich them, reminding us that the sacred is both within and all around us. So as you move forward, think of yourself not just as someone studying the tree, but as someone living it, rooted in the earth, reaching toward the stars, and forever growing along the branches of your own spiritual path. Well, that's going to wrap up this episode of Witch in the Working. How do you feel about the Tree of Life? Have you ever worked with this before? Let us all know down in the comments below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and please subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to ring that little bell to be reminded of the wonderful and exciting future episodes to come. Love you guys and gals. Blessed be.